in ophthalmology, has practiced eye surgery in Salisbury since 1976, and is the founder of both the Peninsula Eye Center and Azar Eye Institute. He's responsible for many firsts in eye care, to include, but not limited to, microscopic eye surgery, intraocular lens implants, phaco, emulsification, removal of cataract with insertion of foldable implants, and the introduction of laser treatments for different forms of glaucoma. He is also past president of the State Medical Society and first physician member of the Maryland Maryland Health Care Access and Cost Commission. He was voted the Outstanding Part-Time Ophthalmology Faculty Teaching Award by medical students at Johns Hopkins for 2 consecutive years. In addition, he is also instrumental in getting the Johns Hopkins to locate the Salisbury Eye Evaluation Center in Salisbury. On a personal note, I met this doctor just over 30 years ago when my wife Pam, who has since passed away, was his patient. She was experiencing some problems with diabetic retinopathy, which can present a number of issues in care of the eye. It was at that point that I saw the dedication and the passion he had for his profession. We both felt extremely lucky that he was entrusted with the eye care of her eyes. It is both an honor and a pleasure to present the Arnold Patz Fellowship to Dr. Alex Azar. There's a lapel pin and a letter from Lions Vision Research on the way. I'm not sure where it is. It's on its way. Arnold Patz Fellow presented to Alex Azar, MD, recognition of dedicated service and support to advance the objectives and commitment of the Lions Multiple District 22 by the Lions Vision Research Foundation of Johns Hopkins Eye Clinic. It's signed by Theodore Ladd, Jr., Chairman of the Board, and Peter McDonald, Director of the Wilmer Eye Institute.
Tell you that I am very honored to receive this award, and I want to thank everybody that was involved in this wonderful function this evening, particularly my friends and family and staff that came out on their busy schedules, in addition to the Lions Club members. All I can say is thank you. I can tell you that 38 years ago, next Saturday, I know exactly, I don't know how many of you can remember where you were 38 years ago, but I can. I was in a little empty midget, driving in a blizzard from Columbus, Ohio, to start my practice in Salisbury, Maryland. And I remember getting to Cambridge and saying to myself, my God, what have I done? I came here once, I met Dr. Dickey, and I loved the area, but I knew squat. I didn't do my homework about what was available and what was not available. And little did I know that the reason they had trouble attracting anyone to come to Salisbury was there was no infrastructure here. The hospital had no microscope. They had no concept of microsurgery at all. And fortunately for me, and I always believe that God works in mysterious ways, right before I left Ohio State, they were going to discard a lot of surgical instruments there that were being replaced. And I said, let me take them with me because I've heard that there's a pig slaughterhouse in Pocomoke, and I'll use the hog eyes to practice on. I'll take these instruments with me. Well, I had a set of instruments. I got here and I met some of the members of your club. I thought Chaffinch, I saw this evening, and others. And at that time, in the late 70s, money was hard to come by. It isn't like hospitals of today where they spend millions and Lincoln eyelash. But then it was very difficult. We lost our neurosurgeon because the local hospital couldn't afford to buy a CAT scan unit at that time. But these guys raised money for us to get the equipment that I needed at the hospital, and I'll always be indebted to them for that. I'm very flattered to get the Arnold Patz Award because I actually got to know Dr. Patz by teaching students up at Hopkins. And he really became very well known, and I used him as an example when I worked at DuPont. Some of you may not realize that I was actually on the committee that decided that the Christiana Hospital would go where it is today. That's how long ago that I was with Uncle Doobie. But I used Dr. Patz as an example because in the 60s, he realized that premature babies were going blind from having too much oxygen. And he wasn't buying into the philosophy then that it was because they were lacking or deficient in some vitamin. Because at that time, if you took a group of babies that were preemies and you gave them, say, vitamin E, they had much less blindness than the group that didn't get vitamin E. And you would say, gee whiz, that means cause and effect. Wrong. He had the foresight to say there's something wrong about this, it doesn't fit. And he, using his own funds, was able to show that these babies were getting too much oxygen. And the reason the babies getting the vitamin did better was they were being taken out of the incubator to get the shot of vitamin. So they weren't being exposed to the oxygen. So his type of research had application when I was doing research at DuPont in a totally unrelated field. But I got here and had many wonderful experiences, but I realized quickly that Dr. Dickey went on vacation the day I arrived and took me to surgery. I was it. I was the only surgical ophthalmologist between Dover and Cape Charles. And I recall my very first week at 3 a.m. getting a phone call from a young man who was in his 20s. And of all things that he had, he was blind from having too much oxygen as a premature infant. He was otherwise healthy. And he went to the state police, and he was totally blind in one eye, could see the big E out of his other eye if he was about 6 inches from it. And he had an acute attack of glaucoma at 3 a.m. in his good eye. And he went to work for the state police for no pay at all to show them that he was capable of being a dispatcher. I broke his attack with glaucoma, and I told his family that he needed surgery. And they're super nice people, and they said, Dr. Azar, we don't know you from that. And they were absolutely correct. And they said they wanted to wait for Dr. Dickey to come back from vacation. Well, Bob didn't come back from vacation because he got ill. And, this young man had another attack, and I realized that I needed to do something. And I made some phone calls and found out that at Hopkins they were doing some research with a laser. And this young man, being a state police employee, they came in with a helicopter, the old Grand Shopping Center, where Powerhouse Gym is now. Came in, picked him up, took him up to Baltimore, and he was among the very first people in the world to be treated with a laser for acute glaucoma. So I established a very quick relationship with Hopkins, and this person went on to retire from the state police, got married, and has children. The other person that I saw around this time was a young lady who was a brittle diabetic. And everyone said to her, do not get pregnant. She insisted that she wanted to have a legacy and got pregnant. During her pregnancy, she went totally blind in one eye and legally blind in her other eye, despite being under the care of the world's foremost retinal surgeon. He was the surgeon that Sugar Ray Leonard operated, the operator on Sugar Ray Leonard. The Russians flew a plane into BWI at the peak of the Cold War and took him and his crew to Moscow to operate on someone there. And he and I became very close friends, and he took care of this young lady. And she had her baby, a beautiful little girl named Lauren, who was avid in softball. And her husband had to tote her to all the games, to all her doctor's appointments. She had to have a kidney transplant, and then had to have a pancreas transplant. And he never, ever once complained, nor did she, nor her family. And that man introduced me this evening is Victor Lowe. For standing by his wife through this whole time. Donnie, you've got a good catcher. The next person that had an impact, this is all going on, and I'm here less than 6 months. Okay. I realized that if I ever wanted to get any help, that I had to build a structure, some type of structure for eye care in the community. And I had a little Welshman who was a captain of the Cape May Lewis Ferry. And he wanted to maintain his pilot's license in the worst way. And at that time, implants were not being used anywhere. I had no training in it at Ohio State. They weren't doing it at Wilmer. And he came and he begged and he pleaded with me to put an implant in his eye. I went down to New Orleans for a weekend and learned how to do it at the Tulane Medical Foundation and the Azar Medical Foundation, which are no relations. That they have 4 generations of ophthalmologists in Louisiana named Azar. But I came back and I put an implant in this captain's eye in the morning. And I went running over to the hospital as soon as I could in the afternoon, took his patch off, and using the machine donated by the Lions Club, I checked it and said, "You're doing great." And he looked me in the eye and he said, "Doctor, aren't you glad that I made you do this?" And he was absolutely correct, because from then on, that's all we did. And I then got hit with an audit. I had somebody thought that I had to have more complications because I only kept my patients in the hospital a day and a half, and everyone else, or most everyone else in the state, were keeping their people in the hospital for 6 days. Well, fortunately for me, I was the very first audit done by the Delmarva Healthcare Foundation out of Easton, and they were sure that they were going to find something wrong. And I went up with all my data and having my background in research and statistics, I was able to show them that my complication rate was less than the others. And I got through that satisfactorily, and the rest of it was history there. And you now know you go in, have your cataract surgery in 20 minutes, and you're out of there. So I then got really involved with Hopkins in the Waterman study. The Waterman study was unique in that I happened to be there one day when Xerox called and said, "You know the machines, Xerox machines, the old ones, you would open it and you'd have this intense light come out." And they wanted to know if that caused any damage to the eye. Well, one discussion led to another, and we came up with this idea of studying the watermen on Chesapeake Bay for glare and light exposure. And they had a beautiful study set up. And one evening I got a call saying, Alex, do you know any watermen? Because the watermen just aren't showing up for the study. And I said, let me call my buddy Omar Evans on Smith Island. Now Omar was I can use his name, he's since deceased, was a unique person. Omar had never been off of Smith Island for over 70 years. And I got a call one day saying, there was a nurse there from Australia, Schembacher, saying that Omar had this eye problem. And I said he needed surgery. And she said, you don't understand, he won't leave the island. And I said, well, I'm not coming to the island, I get seasick. So, I forgot about it. And about 6 months go by, and on a Sunday morning, I get a call from Schembacher saying, the bay's like a sheet of glass, come on over. So I stop by the hospital, I get the equipment that I would need, go over, check Omar, tell him he needs surgery, and he says, fine, let's do it. And he would not go to the little nursing station on the island because it was more than 3 houses away from his own house. So the guys there carried his big operating light to Omar's screened-in porch, and I proceeded to operate on him while he's in a rocking chair. And I had him, well, Esther's dying, as you remember, and I had them promise that they would not tell anyone that I had done it, because I didn't want to be inundated with a bunch of calls. And the nurse called me to say, the yarn that was going around the island wasn't it nice of the doctors on the sailboat from Poppy and Softbury on Omar's Island and he stopped there. Well, I made one call to Omar. He put out the word to the watermen, and all of a sudden they had more participants than they knew what to deal with. But the story didn't end then, because 10 days later, I had to go down there to take the stitches out. And I go down, and here I am, Mr. Chicken on the water. And there's me and the boat captain, and dense fog on the Chesapeake. And we're out in the middle of the Chesapeake, and the captain keeps cutting his engine, and he walks like this. And all I can see and hear are ducks. I'm getting scared, and after he does it, it's about the 4th time, I said, Captain, what's the problem? He said, it's that dang channel marker on Yule. It's supposed to emit a sound, and that's how I know where it is. And I said, look, this is no emergency. Let's go back to Crystal. And he said, Doc, I'd be happy to take you back to Crystal, but I don't know which way that is. About then, I'm ready to go over. I am really chicken. And we get there finally, and they take the stitches out, and I asked Omar if he had a place for me to spend the night, and they all started laughing. And I said, what's so funny? And they take me down to the dock, and they proceed to uncover all the navigation equipment that this boat captain had on board. And he knew exactly where it was. But he knew that he had my goat, and he was... that's helped me in terms of my relationship with Omar, getting the waterman to come. And years later, Omar went into coma the year the bay froze in 1979, and he was airlifted to the Crisfield Hospital. And I drove down there to pay my last regards. Well, wouldn't you know that Omar survived? And he would never go back to the island. I mean, he had been afraid all those years because when someone left the island, they died. And he realized that he didn't die. So he went back to go back. And those are the kind of relations that I built over the years. And I am reminded by, I took care of Lem Ward, and you know, he did all this carving and everything with one arm. And he had had cataract surgery before implants, and I had to fit him with a contact lens that I was instrumental in developing when I was doing research at DuPont. And I made many a house call down in Crisfield to keep him seeing so he could do his commemorative stamps and other things with this God-given right and talent that he had for artistry. And I was looking today, he would give me prints. And on his prints, he was known for writing poems and little sayings. And he said on the one to Dr. Azar, a great doctor, but a greater friend. And I pray that all my patients